Your mind is lying to you. Right now, in the background of everything you do, every decision, every relationship, every quiet moment before you fall asleep, there is a voice. And that voice doesn't want you to succeed. It doesn't want you to try. It wants you afraid, small, still. The ancient Stoics called it the obstacle within, and they spent their entire lives building weapons against it. Today, we're handing those weapons to you. I want you to do something for me before we go any further. Think about the last time negative thinking stopped you. Not inconvenienced you, not slowed you down. Stopped you. Maybe it was a conversation you never had because your mind rehearsed every way it could go wrong. Maybe it was an opportunity you walked past because a voice said, "You're not ready. You're not enough. What if you fail?" Maybe it's something you're carrying right now, today, in the background of this very moment. Here's what most people don't understand about negative thinking. It isn't weakness. It isn't a character flaw. It isn't something broken inside you. It is your mind doing exactly what it was designed to do. The human brain evolved to anticipate threat, to scan for danger, to prepare for the worst. For 200,000 years that was survival. But you don't live in a cave anymore. You live in a world where the threats are invisible. Anxiety about tomorrow, fear of judgment, regret about the past, and your ancient threat detection system has no idea how to tell the difference between a predator and a bad review. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, a book we now call the Meditations, something that stopped me cold the first time I read it. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He wasn't writing this for the world to read. He was writing it for himself. Because Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man on earth, emperor of Rome, commander of armies, struggled with the same darkness you do. And that's the thing about Stoicism that nobody tells you. It wasn't built for the elite. It wasn't philosophy for lecture halls. It was a survival system, forged in war, grief, exile, and loss. And today, we're going to walk through its 7 most brutal, most practical laws for dismantling negative thinking, one by one. Stay until Law 7. It is the one most people never learn. And it may be the most important thing you hear today. Law 1, the dichotomy of control. Stop fighting the war you cannot win. Law number 1. And we start here deliberately, because everything else in Stoicism is built on top of this. Epictetus was born a slave. Not metaphorically, literally, a man owned him. His body was not his own. His freedom was not his own. His future was not his own. And yet, Epictetus became one of the most psychologically free human beings who ever lived. How? He made a single radical distinction. He divided all of human experience into 2 categories. What is up to us, and what is not up to us. Up to us, our judgments, our intentions, our desires, our responses. Not up to us, our bodies, our reputations, our possessions, the weather, other people, the past, the future. Here is the brutal truth that this law exposes. 90% of negative thinking is about things in the second column. Read that again. 90%. We spiral about what people think of us, not up to us. We catastrophize about outcomes we can't control, not up to us. We replay the past, rewriting conversations, wishing things had gone differently, not up to us. Not anymore. Epictetus taught his students something radical. The moment you reach for control over what cannot be controlled, you have surrendered your peace. You have handed your inner world to the outer world, and the outer world is chaos. Now, here's where people misunderstand this law. They hear, "Don't try to control things," and they think it means, "Don't try." That is not what Epictetus said. He said, "Put your full effort into the things within your control, your effort, your attitude, your preparation, your choices, and then release the outcome." The Stoics use this exact image. The archer. The archer controls how he trains, how he breathes, how he holds the bow, how he aims. The arrow, once released, is the wind's. Negative thinking almost always happens in the space between the release and the target. The Stoics said, don't live in that space. So the practice, and every Stoic law comes with a practice, is this. When negative thinking rises, ask yourself one question. Is this within my control? If yes, act. If no, release. Not because it doesn't matter, but because fighting what cannot be changed is not strength. It is suffering volunteered. Epictetus, the slave who could not control a single external thing about his life, died one of the freest men in history, because he understood where freedom actually lives. Law 2, the practice of negative visualization. Imagine the worst, to fear it less. Law number 2 is the one that sounds wrong the first time you hear it. It will challenge everything you've been told about positive thinking. The Stoics practiced something called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. They deliberately, intentionally imagined the worst things that could happen to them: losing their wealth, losing their health, losing the people they loved. Seneca, who was one of the wealthiest men in Rome, advisor to emperors, a man of extraordinary privilege, wrote this: "Let us prepare our minds as if we had come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing." On the surface, this sounds like pessimism. It is the opposite. Here's what negative visualization actually does to your mind. First, it neutralizes fear. Most anxiety is about imagined futures. The mind projects catastrophe and then treats that projection as reality. Negative visualization forces you to look directly at the thing you fear, to sit with it, to walk around it, to realize, I could survive this. The monster is always smaller in the light. Second, it destroys entitlement. One of the deepest roots of negative thinking is the belief that life should be going differently than it is, that you deserve better, that the difficulties are unfair. The Stoics would say, you were never promised smoothness. Seneca wrote, nothing happens to the wise man contrary to his expectation, not because the wise man is pessimistic, but because he has already looked at life clearly. He knows it contains loss. He knows it contains difficulty. He has already made peace with that. Third, and this is the one that changes everything, negative visualization makes you deeply, profoundly grateful for what you have right now. Marcus Aurelius would begin mornings by reminding himself that the people he loved, his children, his wife, his friends, were mortal, not to fill himself with dread, but so that when he saw them that day, he saw them fully. He wasn't scrolling through his mind while talking to his son. He was there because he had already held the possibility of their absence. The practice: spend 5 minutes, once a day, or once a week. Sit quietly and imagine losing something you currently take for granted, not to torture yourself, not to spiral, but to return to your life with eyes that see it for what it is: temporary, fragile, irreplaceable. You cannot feel negative about a life you are genuinely grateful for. The Stoics knew this, and they practiced it like medicine. Law 3, amor fati, love of fate. Stop wishing it were different. Law 3, this one hits differently. Marcus Aurelius lost children, multiple children. He watched Rome suffer plague. He spent most of his reign on the front lines of war, not in his palace, but in military camps in the cold, far from home, far from everything he loved. He wrote the meditations in those camps, and in those pages, under those conditions, he kept returning to a single idea, not just acceptance of what is, but love of it. The Stoics called it amor fati, love of fate. Friedrich Nietzsche, who studied the Stoics deeply, described it this way: my formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati. That one wants nothing to be different. Not forward, not backward, not in all eternity. Now, I want to be careful here, because this is the law most likely to be misunderstood. Amor fati does not mean you pretend pain isn't pain. It does not mean you perform happiness while suffering. It does not mean you lie to yourself. The Stoics were not spiritual bypasses. They were realists. What amor fati means is this: everything that has happened to you, everything, has made you exactly who you are in this moment. Your suffering sharpened you. Your failures taught you what success could not. Your losses opened spaces inside you that ease would have kept closed forever. There is a Stoic image I want you to hold: a fire. Throw obstacles into a fire. What happens? The fire does not weaken, it grows. Marcus Aurelius wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Ryan Holiday built an entire movement around this line. He called it the obstacle is the way. But Marcus wasn't writing philosophy. He was writing a survival note to himself. He was reminding himself, because he had to keep reminding himself, that the things trying to break him were also the things building him. Here is the practice for Law 3. The next time something goes wrong, and something will, before you spiral, ask yourself, what is this teaching me that comfort never could? Not as a performance, not as a toxic positivity trick, but as a genuine question. Because the Stoics believed, and I believe, that the answer is always there. You just have to be willing to look. Law 4, the view from above. Zoom out. Your problems are not the center of the universe. Law 4 is a perspective shift. So radical it feels almost violent, the first time you truly do it. Marcus Aurelius had a meditation he returned to throughout his life. He called it the view from above. He would imagine himself rising, above Rome, above the empire, above the clouds, above the atmosphere, looking down at the whole of human civilization, its wars, its politics, its drama, its noise, from the silence of space. And then he would think, all of this will be forgotten. That's not nihilism. That's not despair. That is the most precise calibration tool the Stoics possessed. Here's what it does to negative thinking. Negative thinking is almost always about scale. We make things enormous in our minds. We place ourselves at the center of vast catastrophes. We imagine that our failures are witnessed by everyone, that our embarrassments are unforgettable, that our struggles are unique. The view from above dissolves all of that. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "How many are Chrysippus? How many are Socrates? How many an Epictetus? Time has already swallowed them up. The greatest thinkers, the greatest warriors, the greatest emperors, all swallowed by time, not to make you feel insignificant, but to set you free. If the thing you're spiraling about will not matter in 10 years, and most things won't, then the spiral is stealing from you. It is taking real time from your real life, and spending it on something that history will not even notice." The Stoics did not say this to dismiss your pain. They said it to proportion your pain, to give it its true size, not the enormous, room-filling size your anxious mind assigns it. The practice. When negative thinking tries to consume you, rise. Literally, go somewhere high if you can. Look out over distance, or do it in your mind. Rise until the problem is small enough to see clearly. Then come back down, with perspective, with proportion, with the quiet knowledge that you are both small and exactly enough. Law 5, memento mori, remember death. The clock is running. Stop wasting it on fear. Law 5, this is the one people resist, and it's the one that changes everything. In ancient Rome, when a general returned from a great military victory, he was given a triumph, a massive public procession through the streets. The crowds would roar. The glory was total. And standing behind him in his chariot, a slave would hold a golden crown above his head. And that slave had one job, one sentence, whispered in his ear, over and over, through the entire parade. Memento mori. Remember, you will die. This was not cruelty. This was the most important gift the Romans could give to power. A reminder that no victory is permanent. No title is forever. No life, regardless of how extraordinary, is exempt. And the Stoics took this deeper, not just as a reminder of mortality, but as a call to presence. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a great deal of it." He wasn't being harsh. He was being honest. Here is what memento mori does to negative thinking. Negative thinking is almost always future-oriented. It borrows anxiety from a tomorrow that hasn't arrived yet. The awareness of death pulls you violently, completely back to now. Because right now, you are alive. Right now, this breath is real. Right now, whatever small joy is available to you is available to you if you choose to reach for it. The person who truly holds their mortality doesn't have time to catastrophize about things that don't matter. They are too busy actually living. I want to ask you something, and I want you to actually sit with it. If you knew, with certainty, that you had 1 year left to live, How much of what you're currently worried about would you still be worried about? How many conversations would you finally have? How many things would you finally try? How many mornings would you stop scrolling and just be there? Memento mori doesn't tell you to live recklessly. It tells you to live deliberately, to choose your thoughts the way a dying man chooses his words, carefully, honestly, with nothing wasted. Law 6, the logos, you are not your thoughts. The observer and the storm are not the same. Law 6 is where Stoicism becomes almost mystical, and it is the most psychologically sophisticated thing the ancient world produced. The Stoics believed in something they called the logos, the universal reason, the rational principle that runs through all of existence. And they believed that inside every human being there is a fragment of that reason. A part of you that is not the emotion, not the fear, not the spiral, a part of you that is the witness. Marcus Aurelius described it like this. He said, step back from the emotion. Look at it, name it, examine it. He wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. But then he went further. He said, even the thoughts inside your head, even the negative thoughts, you are not those. You are the one who is aware of them. Here is what modern neuroscience confirms about what Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius understood 2,000 years ago. You are not your thoughts. Thoughts are events in the mind. They arise, they pass. They have no inherent power over you except the power you grant them through attention. The Stoics built a practice around this. When a negative thought arose, they would observe it and say, this is a thought, not a fact, not a command, a thought. Viktor Frankl, who survived Nazi concentration camps and went on to found logotherapy, said something the Stoics would have recognized completely. Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. That space, that is the logos. That is the observer. That is the part of you the Stoics were training. The practice. The next time a negative thought rises, and it will, don't fight it. Don't suppress it. Don't argue with it. Label it. There is a thought about failure. There is a thought about what they think of me. There is a thought that says I'm not enough. Then watch it, the way you'd watch a cloud cross the sky, with curiosity, with distance, with the quiet authority of the observer. You'll be surprised how quickly clouds move when you stop trying to hold them. Law 7, virtue is the only good. The secret the Stoics kept until last. Law 7, I told you to stay for this one. This is the law that holds all the others together. This is the one that, once you understand it, makes the first 6 not just practices, but weapons with a purpose. The Stoics taught that there is only one true good. Not wealth, not fame, not success, not pleasure, not even health. One good, virtue, arete, excellence of character. And here's why this destroys negative thinking at its root. Most of our negative thinking is about external things. Will I succeed? Will they like me? Will I have enough? Will I be enough? These are all questions about external outcomes. And the Stoics said those outcomes are not the good. They are preferred indifference. Nice to have, worth pursuing, but not the thing. The thing, the only thing that cannot be taken from you, the only thing that matters in the final accounting of a life, is the quality of the person you chose to be. Marcus Aurelius wrote this near the end of his life. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. 4 words. Be one. Not achieve, not acquire, not perform. Be. Here is the deepest truth about negative thinking. It is almost always a misalignment between who you are and who you know you could be. Not about the external world, about the internal one. When you are acting in accordance with your deepest values, when you are being honest, being courageous, being kind, being diligent, negative thinking has no foothold, because you are not asking, am I enough? You already know the answer. The Stoics didn't build their philosophy to make you comfortable. They built it to make you unbreakable. Not because life would become easy, but because you would become someone for whom difficulty was no longer the enemy. Difficulty would become the classroom. Failure would become the forge. And negative thinking, that ancient voice that has followed you everywhere, would become just noise, distant, manageable, yours to choose whether to listen to. 7 laws. Let's hold them together one last time. Law 1. Separate what you can control from what you cannot, and make peace with the difference. Law 2. Visualize the worst, not to fear it, but to diffuse it, and to see what you already have. Law 3. Love your fate. Every scar, every failure, every difficulty, it is all part of you. Law 4. Rise above. Your problems are real, but they are small against the vastness of existence. Keep them their proper size. Law 5. Remember death, not to despair, but to be awake. Right now, in this moment. Law 6. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who watches them. Step back, observe, choose. Law 7. Virtue is the only good. Be the person you know yourself capable of being. And the question of whether you're enough answers itself. The Stoics were not perfect people. Marcus Aurelius had doubts. Seneca had contradictions. Epictetus had scars. But they kept practicing every day. In journals, in letters, in the quiet before dawn. They treated philosophy not as an idea to agree with, but as a practice to return to. And that is all I'm asking of you today. Not perfection, just one return. The next time the voice comes, and it will, remember these 7 laws. Not all of them. Maybe just one. Maybe just, is this in my control? Maybe just, I am the observer, not the storm. Maybe just, what is this teaching me? One question, one practice, one return. That is how the Stoics changed. That is how you will too. If this video reached something real in you today, something that needed to be said, please share it. Not for the channel, for the person in your life who is fighting a version of this battle right now. You probably know someone. Send it to them. If you're new here, subscribe to Wisdom of the Stoics. We go deep, every time, into the philosophy that doesn't just make you think differently, it makes you live differently. Drop in the comments, which of the 7 laws hit hardest for you? I read everyone. And I want to know. Until next time, be one.